Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney,
And I'm MK.
and how are you?
Okay. I have to go back to work tomorrow, and I really don't want to.
I have to
Like,
go to work tomorrow too. I don't want to.
Dan and I have been staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning and sleeping until 9 a.m. every day, and now I have to go back to getting up. No, no.
Mhm.
And the Pope died today.
I know, that was a bummer.
And the one good thing though, today is that Dan and I did get our preview of our wedding pictures.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was today. How do I
Yes.
look?
Oh my God, I cried.
Do I
There.
look like I'm cold?
No, actually.
Because I'm cold all the time in your pictures.
Um, so the little viewing session that we had 186 photos in it. Um, there are 5,000 photos.
Jesus Christ. That's a lot of photos.
Yeah. So that's why it took so long to get that.
I guess you got your money's worth.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's less than $1 per picture. Um, yeah. So I will I'll get the actual link to the drive with all the photos on it later this week. But yeah.
Oh,
But
I can't wait to see them.
oh, they look so good. Yeah, I cried through a lot of the pictures.
I
But
love that.
yeah, it was great. So that made up for some of I also had
Not the Pope dying, but the other bad things.
yeah. I mean also yesterday was just so long. For those who don't know
Aren't here.
because you don't have any idea when we record things. Yesterday was Easter. Um, and I did Easter brunch with my family. And then the plan was to go from Easter brunch with my family to just stop at Dan's mom's house and see everyone. However, they started dinner an hour and a half late, or they started their brunch an hour and a half late. So when we got there, everyone was still eating, which meant I was forced to also eat there.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
so then I came home, and Dan and I immediately went to our separate bathrooms because it was too much food. And then I took a nap, and then we went to have dinner with his dad. I had so much cured meat yesterday.
Mm, what was your meat?
Yes, me too. But when you have nothing to eat for hours except for pounds of ham and bacon and sausage, I think at dinner I had a salad. That was the first vegetable I'd had all day.
Mm. Yeah, I did have some
It was
vegetables.
a lot of potatoes and a lot of cured meats,
Two of the best things, though.
which is delicious. Also, not as great for my digestive system as I would like it to be.
No, no,
So I'm tired and I'm cranky because I have to go back to work tomorrow.
I don't blame you. I'm kind
How
of
are
tired
you?
and cranky, and I also have to go to work tomorrow. I don't know. I just same.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I'm okay. Yes, yesterday was Easter. Oh my gosh, my dog is driving me crazy today. I love you. Go away. Um, I oh, I thought it just told me my mic went off again. I was like, Jesus Christ. Um, Sorry. So yes, yesterday was Easter. I worked most of the day. I worked a full 8 hour day on Easter still because gotta pay bills in
Yep.
New Jersey. Um, and then I went to Rachel's in-laws, and it was really nice. And we had ham and not a potato, not a one. I've just realized that. Not a one. Now I'm
I had
dis
yesterday, I had
disgusted.
I had home fries. I had home fries. I had au gratin potatoes. I had mashed potatoes, and I had twice baked potatoes.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did I have a potato? When did I have a potato? That was last week we had potatoes. I'm there all the time. We had cornbread casserole, which was good. We had deviled eggs, which were fine. We
Yeah.
made them, so they were fine.
Yeah.
We had ham, which was delicious. I love ham.
Yeah.
We had pasta salad, which I don't like, but everyone has to eat a little bit of everything.
No,
And so
absolutely not.
it just tastes like onion.
No. First of
And
all,
I
that's too much. If your pasta salad tastes like onion, you have too much onion in your pasta salad. Second of
Any
all,
onion is too much onion, first of all, but yes,
oh,
also for sure.
second of all, who has a holiday dinner and says everybody has to have a little bit of everything? That feels criminal.
I think it's legitimate as a lawyer. I think that that is a crime. Um, what else do we have? I feel like we had something else. We didn't have a break. Oh my gosh, we didn't have anything. I am discovering this
No,
as we record.
no.
Um, that is such a bummer. I did have ham left over and cornbread casserole, so I had those for lunch today, which was they were delicious.
See,
I don't like corn, but I like cornbread casserole.
the problem is Dan and I didn't want to cook on Saturday, so we ordered Chinese food. So I had
Mhm.
Chinese leftovers and then I had Easter. So I've just eaten terribly for the last 3 days.
Yeah, we had pizza Saturday. I had never had the cheesy bites from Pizza Hut before.
Oh,
And
really?
I know it's crime. That's a crime.
Yeah.
And so we ordered it, and so then I had leftover pizza yesterday before we went to Easter, which we did Easter dinner, not Easter lunch.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had leftover Easter today, and then I have leftover pasta from the baby shower last week. So I had pasta for dinner. Like it's just we'll see. I'll try again next week. I have 4 bags of broccoli in my freezer. Like I have the food that you're supposed to eat, and I want to eat it, but I
Yeah.
can't let the food go bad because then it's just a
No.
waste.
I actually tonight before I go to bed, when Dan gets home from rehearsal, I actually would like to like plan our meals for the week so that I know
Oh,
if I should
nice.
take food out of the freezer. We have meat in the freezer. I have meat in the fridge. I have
I have meat in the
leftovers for
fridge.
days, but I also have meat that I need to cook.
Yeah. I have meat in the fridge that I need to put back in the freezer because I'm clear that I'm eating it for the next 2 days. I've had it in the fridge
To
for
be
2 days.
fair, the
So,
only meat I have in the fridge is smoked kielbasa, so it's sausage,
hmm,
so that's fine.
yeah.
But we do have a shit ton of pork chops in the freezer.
I have a little bit of everything from all of the meal kits that I never cooked. The meal
Mm,
kits that never were. Some may call them.
yeah.
Um, but I do, even though I have work tomorrow, I did tell myself I wasn't going to work tonight after we record, which I do sound like a crazy person. I am a crazy person, but it just is what it is. Like we get
Yeah.
done at 10 and normally I would go do an hour or two more of work.
Yeah.
But I told myself tonight I'm finishing Midnight Crossroad because I have 1 week to read book for book club
Hmm.
and I have not started it. So I need to finish Midnight Crossroad, Crossroad. Also, fun fact of this week. None of my words work. I have said the most insane words incorrectly in the past week. Um, but because of all of that, I'm having a beer. I never drink when we do this because I'm always cooking. I mean, I always have to
Yeah, girl.
backseat. I'm always working and doing all this nonsense stuff. And so I
I
have my Super Bowl cozy, and
nice.
I'm drinking a New Orleans beer. It's a Second Line Brewing Amber Lager, and it is quite nice. I really like the Second Line Brewing Company. I've tried a few of the different beers, and they're all pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
If I ate enough food on a regular basis, I could probably have a drink while we record, but we record late enough that and I eat so terribly that I can't function the next day if we do that.
I know I do function, but I try. I get so sleepy. I'm like 1,000. I get so sleepy when I start drinking, and so I'm like I can't work
Yeah.
after. I can't work at 10 p.m. if I drink a beer at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And so, but thankfully, I'm not. I've told myself I don't have to work tonight, so I'm already bundled up in my chair that I'll be reading in
Yeah.
my library.
I love that.
So, since I'm going into this night with calm and ease and alcohol, could you give us a little joy in our life?
I can actually.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I love it
So,
when that happens once a year.
who gets to determine when the old ends and the new begins? It's not a day on a calendar, not a birthday, not a new year. It's an event, big or small, something that changes us. Ideally, it gives us hope, a new way of living and looking at the world. letting go of old habits, old memories. What's important is that we never stop believing we can have a new beginning. But it's also important to remember that amid all the crap are a few things really worth holding on to.
Sure are. There sure are. There's a lot of crap, but there are a few good things here and there. Nice. That was a good one.
I like previewed it before we started recording and I go, what? A positive one? No
Look at
way.
that. I get to be positive for once. Well, I'm going to be positive too because we are starting a new show. We are still in our Hannibal universe, but we are watching Clarice, which came out on CBS, which is very clear from the people that are in the show because they're all from the new Paramount shows.
Well,
But
also, I don't know if you had the way DVDs work, if I don't know what device you watch a DVD on, but
Xbox.
On my PlayStation, I have to like flip through the ads at the beginning of the DVD to get to the main menu.
Yeah. So
And
here's the thing.
they were all for Paramount TV shows.
Yeah, they for sure were. Here's the thing about that. I have not watched a DVD on my Xbox before.
Mm.
So I didn't know how it works, which means I couldn't figure out how to skip anything. In order to skip things, you don't just push the arrows. You don't just push joystick like you normally would. You have to push the circle or the
Oh,
red before you start pushing arrows. And I
oh.
was
See,
so
on the
confused.
PlayStation, if I just press the trigger button, it flips to the next cut, like the next ad. I just go,
Well, that's how it is on literally everything except DVDs, I guess,
oh,
because it doesn't
well,
work
because I mean,
like
like
that.
pausing is like the X, the circle does things like but also it was the first time we put a DVD in the new PlayStation.
Hmm.
So, because we were watching DVDs at Doug's, like on Doug's PlayStation. This is the
Yeah.
first time we put a DVD in our PlayStation. And so it brought up a whole menu that showed me what every button means. And it's like, here's how to navigate a DVD. Here's what every button means. Did I read any of it? Fuck no.
It did not tell me any rules, and you use the joystick to control everything, but you have to push the circle first to bring
Oh,
up the menu.
oh,
And it's
okay.
like the back button, like the circle is like the back button on Xbox, and
Yeah,
so it's not like a button you use for things. It's not
yeah,
X, it's not Y, it's not start.
no.
And so I literally got to a point I was like 5 to 7 minutes into the episode and I was like, I need to be able to pause this. I can't even pause. Like, and then I just started pushing buttons. And then I realized when you push the red button, then you can use the joystick and pause and turn on subtitles and do all the things you need to do with the
Mm.
joystick and the X button. But oh my God, I literally was ready to throw my computer. Nope, my TV out of the room. Um, that said,
Yeah.
yes, we are watching Clarice, and this is all happening because you cannot stream it. And so, if you are looking for it again, as a reminder, if you are just joining us on episode 1 of Clarice, it is available at a lot of libraries, it seems. It is available for purchasing the whole episode 4, the whole season 4 streaming for $20 on Apple TV and on Amazon, or you could just purchase the DVD. I think I got mine for $13 or something on Amazon.
Yeah.
There are
I
probably
think
other
it's like
sites.
on Amazon Prime, it is like $4 an episode or $21 for the whole season. But if you
Well, that's
buy
it's a little bit cheaper if you do SD instead of HD. It always
uh
shows the more expensive option first.
oh, I would
Hmm.
never watch something not in HD.
Oh, I'm always gonna pay for the cheaper option.
Oh God, I
Yeah.
I get mad when YouTube videos aren't clear enough. Like I could never. Um but yeah, I guess if you get standard definition and hate your eyeballs, you can pay a little bit less
Mine
money.
don't work anyways. What does it matter? But you could also just order the DVD, which is what I did, and
Yeah.
it was like $13 from Amazon. I got it in 2 days, and um, it works fine. So,
Yeah, and I just rented mine from my local library. So
so that is how you access it. And please join us if you haven't watched it yet. And if you have, welcome to Death and Aliens. Um, it aired February 11th, 2021. So we're like in recent days. These are the normal times we're in. I mean, that was 4 years ago, but it's normal times. It was rated 7 out of 10, which is fair. It wasn't a great pilot, but it wasn't the worst pilot I've ever seen either.
I well, okay. I
Yeah,
liked
yeah, we'll
it.
get to it.
Yeah, I
I
liked
mean,
it
I
all.
liked it. I just what I'm saying is like I liked it, but it just wasn't. It didn't blow me out of the water. The number one song was "Driver's License" by Olivia Rodrigo. Couldn't even tell you the lyrics. I probably listened to that song at some point in time. I'm familiar with its existence because it
Okay.
won thousands of
I was gonna
awards.
say I could sing it to you right now, but we don't
Yeah,
have
I just don't think I
licensing.
ever. That is true. I just don't think I've ever actually listened to it. Number one movie was The Croods: New Age, which I never watched because, again, didn't love the first one of that one. Big hit with the world, but not so much with me. The number one book was The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I have never heard of her. But I bet I'd like it. I tend to like what is that time frame called? Like a Bridgerton style romance. I haven't watched Bridgerton or read it, but that era of romance.
Also, on that day, February 11th, 2021, was the
Mhm.
day that Joel De La Fuente shared my Instagram post for Death and Aliens.
That's the day we became famous.
Yeah.
Um, was I even here yet? I don't even know if I was on the podcast yet.
You had guessed it on the podcast.
I'd guess, but I
Yeah.
started like the fall of 21, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's been so many years ago.
I know.
What a wild time to be alive.
Yep.
Um, so everything that was happening as being February of 21 is terrible. It's
Yeah.
COVID, it's a recession, it's all of the countries are falling apart. Didn't write about that. It's also the day Caitlin Clark scored her season high of 39 points. So this is when we discovered the wonder that is Caitlin Clark.
Love that.
Um, this is also the yes.
I was just say, so I had told Dan that one of the things that we were investigating in watching this show is why it only lasted one season because it seemed to have pretty decent reviews. And after watching it, we both really, really liked it. So he was like, I don't know if this is Courtney's job or yours, but I did some research and he starts pulling up some stuff about it. And he was like, well, it premiered in like mid-season, so I don't know if that has anything to do with the show. And then he goes, but it was February 2021. I go, babe, that was the season. There was no mid-season. COVID.
Plus, it's hard. Yeah, we didn't get real things other than that
I was like, nothing happened in the 2020, 21 season until the fall
until
because
about February. Yeah, yeah. Bless it. He's forgotten life. It's also the world's second oldest person celebrated their 117th birthday. And if you had to guess it, it's a French nun, which makes sense.
checks
Nuns
out.
and the French,
100% checks out.
like, doesn't surprise me.
Listen, somehow the French have discovered that cigarettes do prolong your life. I
Along
don't,
with 2 hour lunches.
well, yeah. And,
That's
and
probably what it is.
champagne at lunch and cigarettes without all the chemicals that American cigarette companies put in them.
Yeah.
That's apparently the choice.
And the work-life balance of like not caring about work and having a life.
Yeah.
That's a good part of it. I should move to France. Need to get back on my Duolingo. Duo's mad at me. He's dead. Um, and also this was the 2020 FIFA World Cup because, the chaos.
Yeah.
This was the day it ended and Munich won. So what a time. I do not know a lot about
Well, I know you don't because you called it FIFA.
FIFA. Is it
It's
FIFA?
FIFA.
Look. All I could think is FIFO, which is like first in, first out for like project management.
Yes. Yeah. But the football the Federation of Inter the Football International Federation Associate whatever
Federation of International Football Association.
something like that. Yeah.
Something like
I don't
that.
I second guess myself because Federation and Association both being in the title feels asinine. But I think that
Mm,
that's correct. But they definitely say FIFA.
FIFA. Okay. I'll get on with that.
Okay.
Um, our director, so obviously everything's new now because we're starting a new show.
Yeah.
Our director is Maya Vervillo. And she is known for The Wheel of Time, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Clarice, and Star Trek Picard.
Listen,
She,
Strange New Worlds
yes,
and Picard, the best Star Treks. So
and also all Paramount shows.
That too.
Just stay tuned. She doesn't have a ton on the internet about her. She does have a Instagram, but it's not really anything other than Star Trek and her dog. So she has a dog who did have cancer, but I think seems to be okay now. And she lives in Toronto. So that's about what you could know about her.
Yeah.
Our writers are Ginny Lumet or Ginny Lumet. It was created by her. She is known for Rachel getting married, that we just talked about.
Yeah.
The 2017 Mummy, The Man Who Fell to Earth, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
She is the granddaughter of Lena Horne.
Ooh.
Like, talk about nepotism. This, like, her IMDb trivia is just all of the famous people she's related to.
Well,
Like her dad, her grandfather, her mom, her like grandmother, her aunt, like literally everyone. Um, and I don't know her other than this. I'm sorry, I have to get my dog out of my bag.
also, she was married to Bobby Cannavale.
Yes, that was my next. Get out of there. Come on. That was my next thing, was that she was married to Bobby Cannavale. Move, 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 move. Move. Oh, sorry. I thought my shoe closet would be safe from my dog because it's shoes and bags, but no. So I had to close her out. Yeah, he's super nice. He came to the bar when I was working one night. Apparently, he used to go there all the time. Huge baseball fan, so he came watch the game one day. But super nice guy.
Love that.
And she is also one of the people that in 2017 sued Russell Simmons and started a lot of the lawsuits against him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, Russell Simmons was like the creator of Def Jam Records. So,
which is really, I know that that's why he's famous, but also because of where I grew up and the kind of people I hung out with as a kid, I only know him as the husband of Kamorley Simmons, aka Baby Fat.
know what that means.
Kamorley, his wife, or his ex-wife now, I think.
Right.
Kamorley, she was the designer and creator of the brand Baby Fat. Yeah.
Oh, interesting, interesting. Yeah, that was not a thing I was super familiar with. I mean, obviously I'm familiar with his existence, but like,
Yeah.
wasn't a lifestyle for me. Another writer is obviously Tom Harris is credited on everything because he wrote the books, but
Obviously, yeah.
so I'm not talking about him because we've talked about him already. Alex Kurtzman, who is known for Sleepy Hollow, who is the executive producer. I knew this. I wrote down EP and I was like, I'm going to read this episode and be confused for a minute. For sure. That's exactly where my brain went. Who is the executive producer of Sleepy Hollow, which is a show that I have considered for the podcast, that it's been on my rotating agenda of.
Okay, I think I can see how this has similar vibes to that.
I haven't actually. Oh, have you watched it?
I watched like the first 2 episodes and then just
Okay.
never, like, it ran out of time in my life.
Gotcha. I watched the first episode because that's when I was looking for what our next show was going to be after. What did we just watch? The Exorcist.
Wow,
I watched
like a year ago.
It was more than that. Watched like the first episode of like 6 or 7 different horror shows to see like which one kind of hit. And this was one of them. And then Star Trek from 2009, The Mummy from 2017, which I don't know anything about. I completely forgot it came out.
Me too.
It's got Tom Cruise in it. Like
that's why I hate Tom Cruise.
I hate Tom Cruise, but I love Tom Cruise movies. I think
we've talked about this on podcast plenty of times.
And Star Trek Discovery. Another thing, not a lot of info on him on the internet. Couldn't find a lot of social media, couldn't find Wikipedia. He was born in Los Angeles and he's married to Samantha Counter, whose dad was like a big time attorney with the AMTP. MP? The Motion Picture Association.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I can't say all the letters.
This also kind of falls into Dan was pretty sure that when they made this show, they were trying to do a single season on network TV and then shift it to Paramount like they did with a lot of their other shows at that time. And based on who this team is, that hardcore checks out.
Well, this is like all of the like it's the Paramount people. It's like all of the
Yeah,
same Paramount people like making all of the same shows that
all
came
of the
out all of
shows.
this time.
Yeah,
Like
that's
this
like
is
all of the Star Treks, Yellowstone, like Wheel of
mhm,
Time. That's all that same
yeah,
group of producers and whatnot.
yeah. Um and then we also have Tess Leibowitz, who was the executive story editor. She's known for How to Get Away with Murder, Queens, Clarice, and Scandal. So she's got a little murdery in there.
Yeah.
Now look, she has not a lot about her on the internet either. And I found her Instagram, but it is private. However, you can read her bio, which says writer, comedian, try hard, 5'2", and ready to fight. And I was like, bro, I have never connected with someone so hard. Like I am 5'1" ish. But other than that,
Yeah.
I get it. Also, she was on the production staff for Private Practice, which you still
Mm.
haven't watched, right?
No, still not watch that.
Such a good show. One of the
Here's the thing.
best.
I'll tell you the complete honest truth. They did the backdoor pilot
Mm-hmm.
inside of the Grey's Anatomy episode,
Mm-hmm.
and then before they started Private Practice, changed the actress for the main
Mm-hmm.
character, for Audra McDonald's character. And
Oh, for Audra McDonald's character. I thought you
yeah,
were gonna say for
no, no, no. Audra McDonald's character, the actress who played her in the backdoor pilot was not Audra McDonald. And now, don't get me wrong, I love Audra McDonald. But when things like when they do backdoor pilots and then change the cast before the actual show starts, it always throws me off. It like irks me a little bit. And so I didn't watch it because of that when it first came out. And now it's just been 2 decades and I'm behind.
I was a decade behind, but you should give it a go. It's one of the best.
Yeah.
I just absolutely adore it.
Yeah.
Um,
So
and
I'm
I do
still
love Audra McDonald.
suffering through Grey's Anatomy every week. So
I know. Well, maybe you wait till it ends in 20 years and then you go back and watch Private Practice and be sad you waited so long. Our editor is John Jadowski, who is known for Star Trek Discovery, Twisters, Impulse, and Fringe.
love
Um,
Fringe.
I know
Love
you do.
Fringe.
He is an adjunct professor of editing at USC, which is his alma mater. And I couldn't find a lot about him, but his website is called jimdo.net. And
Love
it just made me laugh so much. I am talking because it's only 13 episodes, and I know we're gonna have a lot going on. I'm talking about two characters this week, to just kind of get us started. So we have Rebecca Breeds, who plays Clarice. And she is known for Clarice. The originals, she played Aurora De Martel. I haven't watched the originals yet, but
Yeah,
that
she
is
was
what she
in the
plays.
originals and Legacies, or Legacy, which is the
Mm,
other part of
yeah,
the
those are gonna
TVD
be
universe.
a rabbit hole for me one day, but I haven't gotten there yet because
Yeah,
I love Vampire Diaries.
Dan was really confused that she was Australian, and I was like, yeah, yes.
She's super Australian. Um, she's also in Slam and Bagnilka, which was won a lot of Indian awards. Slam won a lot of awards. May have been Canadian. There was something she was in that was I wrote it down. Home and Away was Australian, and she won a lot of awards for that, and that's what a lot of people know her from.
Okay.
Um,
Obviously, I know
and
her from the TVD universe. So
right. And she just had a baby like February 20th of this year.
oh,
So
congratulations.
baby, congratulations on your new baby. Um, and then we have Michael Cudlitz, who plays Paul Krindler, who is known for Grosse Point Blank, The Walking Dead, Sex Drive, and Southland. And there are so many credits on his IMDb that I didn't have the time to scroll through them all.
That's fair. He
Like,
looks very familiar, but when you said that, like, not that any of those things are things I followed closely, but when you said that list of things, I was like, okay, yeah, I
no.
get it.
Well, Grosse Point Blank was huge in the 90s. It was a big
Yeah.
90s movie. And then I think Southland and there was something else that he won like a ton of awards for. I mean, The Walking Dead is obviously huge, but I haven't watched it. But there was something else that he was in that like he won a ton of awards for. And he's just been doing it. He was born out on Long Island. And he also does voice work for Call of Duty. So if you ever played that, you've heard him because he's on all of them.
Yes, my brother played them, so
I hated them, and everyone I knew played them. I'm not a first person shooter gamer. It's not for me. I say that they're like Alan Wake is one of my favorite games, but I don't like campaign ones or whatever you call those. Um,
yeah.
um,
Hmm.
I gotta buy a new mic
I'm so sorry.
like tomorrow. Okay, let's see. Yes, I understand. It's like, please check your microphone settings. Yes, I've messed them all up.
You're
Thank
like,
you.
yep, I got it.
Okay, everything's back in
Wow.
working order.
Holy cow.
I told you literally everything. Like
And
even the like
I'm
summary.
I've seen about 90% of what he's been into. Like he's been in
Yeah,
one episode of every show I've ever watched in my entire life. Like,
right, right. And even when I was like reading the summary on his Wikipedia, like under his professional career, not just the credits, it's like a long list still. It's just
but also my favorite is that his filmography, like he has like archive footage, actor, self,
mhm,
director, because a lot of actors get into directing.
mhm.
He has a lot of credits for the art department as being a prop maker and a carpenter on a bunch of shit, and that is dope.
He just does everything. It just is who he is. It's wild. Um, yes. So that is our opening notes for today. Let's get into the episode. It is season 1, episode 1. The silence is over. We start in therapy with Clarice, as do all good Hannibal shows. And she's going over the events of what happened in Silence of the Lambs. And she's talking about, you know, Buffalo Bill and all this stuff. And she's like, but she's like off the cuff with it. She clearly doesn't care to be there.
Yeah.
And we learn it's been a year and that the families are all making statements and they're doing like a whole like reunion thing basically. And so she's very involved in that and she, wants to be. And we're set in 93 for those of you who don't know where Silence Land when Silence Land is set.
Yeah.
And so we learn that she's at Quantico now and she's doing data stuff. So she's still doing the BSU stuff, but she's doing it more like database and she's not really in the field.
Yeah.
And he starts telling her, he's like, yeah, but you need to like, we have to honor like the victims. We've dealt with some victims. And she's like, there are no victims.
Or no, survivors. He said survivors. She said there are no survivors. And he was like,
Yeah.
ma'am.
And I was like, first of all, Catherine survived. Like, she's clearly not dead. But then also, and he's like, you survived. And she's like, no, if you survive, you were a victim. Like, basically, and she's like, not a victim. I'm like, that is trauma. But okay. And we also learned she doesn't talk to Catherine. Like, she
Mhm.
hasn't spoken to her since. And he's like, why are you so involved with all of these other families? But you don't talk to the one person who also was actually involved. Like, no one else
Okay.
lived it.
Yeah. I was kind of on the therapist side until later in the episode, and then I was like, oh, yeah, no, I got it. I got it. I wouldn't talk to her either.
Yeah, fair. So this is also when he starts saying like this is mandated therapy. She has to come to it every week. She has to show up to continue on with her
Yeah.
profession. And he starts telling her how like Hannibal was her therapist, and she's like, no, that was quid pro quo. And it's like, I don't know if we both saw the same thing happen because he for sure tried to therapize you. Um,
But to be fair, I think technically I feel like Hannibal was as much her therapist as me talking to Rachel about shit would be. Like, you know what I mean?
sure,
Like,
sure,
just because he is a therapist and they had conversations and she got psychoanalyzed in some of them, that she wasn't looking for healing. Like she wasn't
right.
having a patient doctor relationship with him. So like when
No,
he said that, I was like, no, but like
I was like, not quite,
that's
not
not
quite. Yeah,
that would be like being friends with a teacher means you're being educated all of the time. Like that's not how that works.
that would be so nice. That would be so nice if you just
I'm
like.
If I just
taught
I
me every
mean, I
day.
teach you little things.
You do. You do. Just like constantly, though. Just send me new facts every day. Make sure they
And
stay in my brain. Find me a way to
I
make
was
them
like,
stay in my
yeah,
brain.
I was like, I'd have to learn new facts every day to tell you new facts every day, though. Ooh.
Yeah, you got this. Um, so so he tells her at the end of the session that she needs to be out of rotation until her PTSD clears up. And then immediately FBI agents burst into the door. They're
Okay,
like, hey, we're
but
throwing you into the
I
field.
have a bone to pick with that.
Which
Be-
part? All of it, because I've blown through with all of it.
well, yes, but with him as a therapist saying you're out of rotation until your PTSD clears up. Because there is a difference between being in a place where you are successfully coping and handling your PTSD
Mm-hmm.
and you are not actively triggered at every waking moment.
Right.
However, PTSD doesn't clear up, it doesn't go
No.
away, it's not something we can talk our way out of. That's not how that works.
It's sure not. It's sure not. And also, if you were going to take her out of rotation because she was not functioning well, you should have done that a year ago. Like, you don't get to wait a year into
And
therapy and be like,
and
we're going to pull you out now.
and
Like, she's probably
also
figured it out by now.
and also she works in an office. Work is clearly not where she's having a problem.
Right.
Like
Right.
some people, like me, I'm the kind of person, work is great. I don't have ADHD problems at work because I'm focused. I have to get the job done. I have to do the work. Then I come home and I death spiral and like scroll on my phone and take a nap and don't
Mm-hmm.
remember who I am. Like at her desk filing things, probably not where she's having trauma flashbacks, just so you figured that out.
That is her break from the spirals. Yes. I'm very
Yeah.
familiar with that
So
also. Yeah.
I don't like this therapist at all.
I don't either. He reminds me a lot of Chilton. Like, did you get Chilton vibes from him? Because I
I
like early Chilton vibes, not like in Chilton vibes.
Yeah, no, but I think the problem was I got um my psychiatrist that I used to go to vibes.
Mm,
And I got really my own kind. I was like, right, no, that's cute.
yeah. I'm very happy that my therapist doesn't suck.
Yeah, no,
She
your
does
therapist is great.
bad sometimes, but
Well, you
that's
only
the
think she sucks
part.
because she tells you the actual answers.
I don't say she sucks. I said she makes me sad
Oh, she makes you
sometimes.
sad because she's helping you. My therapist told me that if a plane fell out of the sky and it didn't bother me, I should change my medication dosage. That was an actual
Oh yeah, yeah,
direct
yeah.
quote.
I do remember you telling me that. That is so insane.
So I would rather my therapist make me cry sometimes than that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's how that's supposed to go. But fun fact, she did tell me my lists are fine. I can make as many lists as I want. I got the green light on listing,
10.
which is all I needed out of therapy. So two people burst in and say that they need her right now. And even though the therapist hasn't signed off, he's like, I didn't sign off on any of this. And they're like, we don't care. We're taking her. She's going into the field today, right this second.
Well,
I
because
was
the
like,
orders aren't coming from the FBI, they're coming from the Attorney General, who kind of outranks the FBI.
correct. And so then we go over to the AG's office and they're all like, everything's a little frantic. And then she turns around and she says, hello, Clarice, which I didn't mention in our trivia last time because I had a ton of trivia. But we all probably know at this point that he never actually says hello, Clarice. He says like good evening, Clarice, or something.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a
Um,
incorrect, but I think they probably did it on purpose. But
yeah. But also I forgot that the AG was Catherine's mom until
I for sure did too.
and then I
For
was like,
sure
oh
did too.
shit.
Yeah, I was like, why is she so intense about everything? And then I was like, oh yeah, this tracks. Everything makes sense
Yeah.
again. Um, and so we learned that it's the AG is called Clarice in and to catch this new serial killer. And she's like, we got to do this. Yeah, my next line says, oh, it's Catherine's mom.
Yeah.
And she tells her that she needs to accept that she's a monster hunter. This woman has no give. She was
No.
like, you're healing? No, you need to keep fighting monsters. Go heal in your own time.
And then, okay, and then she's like, the FBI is not your family. I am.
I know.
The fuck? She's like, no one at the FBI understands what you went through, but I do. No, man, you don't. Your
It
daughter,
made
your daughter might. Your daughter might.
yeah,
But
it
what
gave
the
me vibes of
fuck do
I'm
you
the
want?
father now. That is all I could hear when she said that, I'm your family. And I was like, oh gosh. And so we learned about the serial killer, and two women have been sliced up and sent down a river. And oh, that came a few lines earlier. I just forgot to write it down. This is where I was
Yeah,
figuring out how to rewind.
got it.
Um, and then we learned that Kat is now like super thin because Buffalo Bill only took larger women. So obviously her trauma is I have to be the opposite of that for A.
Felt that in my fucking bones.
You know. But also, if you watch Silence of the Lambs, you saw Brooke Smith. There was no one in that video that was like large.
No, no, no. But they do say she wore a size 14, and they talk about that specifically. And Brooke Smith, she wasn't her thinnest in that. She, like,
Yeah.
either. But, like, as someone who went through, like, a body dysmorphia due to trauma, I can tell you right now, she could have been a size 10. And if anybody said that it was because she was bigger, she would have
Yeah.
tried to lose
Oh,
weight. Like,
for sure.
she was a size 14, which, okay, cool. I'm a size 12. Like,
Yeah.
that's right. Like, here we are. I wouldn't consider us big girls.
Yeah.
But
That's what I'm saying. I'm not
yeah.
discrediting what the
It's-
trauma she's dealing with.
yeah.
I'm just saying the skewed view of Hollywood.
But also, in the 90s, I feel like everybody was skinnier than they are now.
Yeah. I mean, they were on,
Because
the like, what was it, Fin Fan?
they
They
were
had
all,
like
everybody
drugs and
was,
cigarettes.
yeah, everybody was doing coke and smoking Marbs, and they were all weighed 10 pounds.
Right. Right.
And also, what a size was in that time,
Very
non-existent.
different than what it is now.
Very different now,
Yeah.
because let me tell you, my mom's wedding dress, my mom, she swears she's never been that skinny.
Your
When
mom is
I,
not very big.
no,
She's
when,
already pretty small of a person.
yeah, well, she's a very petite person in general, but like
Yeah.
she's had weight issues and whatever, but she swears she's never been that skinny. When I was in high school and I was at my absolute smallest I've ever been, I tried on her wedding dress. Not a no, no, ma'am. And she literally watched, and she knew how small I was. And
You
she
were
was
like a
watching.
waif.
Yeah. And she goes, "What do you mean it's too small? Was I really that small?" And I was like, "Yes, mom. In 1990, you were. You didn't exist." She's like, "But I didn't wear that small of a size." And I go,
That's
"Because
not how
that's
it
what
works.
sizes were in 1990."
Yeah. 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 Sizes change every year. You just keep going with it. I literally have like things that are like 6 to 8 size differences that all
Oh,
fit me. Like it
oh
just
yeah.
you never know. You never know what it's gonna be. Um, like I think the dress that I got for your wedding, I intended it to be like a little bit too small of a size, and then it was like a little bit too big. Like it
Yeah.
was just like nothing makes sense in the world of sizing. Um, like this shirt is a medium, and I have a shirt that's like an extra large that's tighter than this. I hate clothes.
Yeah.
Um,
Women's fashion is a joke.
I'll spiral. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah. So now she is being part of VICAT, which I did forget what it stood for, and I meant to look it up again. Do you recall? It's like victims.
No. In fact, I actually, the only note I wrote was to ask you what it stood for.
Yeah, I meant to look it up because it's used in every show ever. VICAT meaning. That's what I want. Violent criminal apprehension program.
Oh,
I've made up stuff. Yeah, I've heard of it a lot in CSI. That's why I
got
knew it
it.
existed. So now she's part of VICAT with Paul Krindler. And Clarice says that she's happy to do this, but she has a stipulation. She wants to go back to BSU after and not work in the field again. This is her one serial killer case. She's going to do it. She's going to get it over with and everything's going to be fine. And the AG is just like, no,
No.
that's not a thing.
Oh, and this is when she tells her that
And
the FBI is not her family.
yeah, she's like, they're not your family. Everyone that you went to school with hates you. Like, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, way to like, um,
Mhm.
like what is the word, like separate her from everyone she's ever loved.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
gaslight, manipulate,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all of the things that
Hmm.
narcissists do.
Right. So this is also when we learn that Clarice has been avoiding Catherine's calls because at the end she's like, also, if you don't mind, can you call or can you answer when she calls you or something like that? And so we learn that she's been calling and Clarice has not been answering. So we go to the crime scene and they drive through like a ton of journalists because obviously it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And she's just in the car and she's getting flashbacks, everything. And when she gets out, Paul tells her that she's just there for show. She's meant to say whatever he tells her to say, nothing else, because they think she just got lucky in her case and doesn't actually know what she's doing. Um, and then he also, yeah, so he said she got lucky. Um, and this is where it started kind of feeling like a parallel to like our NBC Hannibal, because
Yeah.
you get the Jack Crawford, you get the Price and Seller, you get the,
Mhm.
that's her being like Will, who is a little bit too damaged to actually be there. Except
Yeah.
for Paul's like, you're not doing anything, you're just here. And Crawford's like, you're falling apart, but I need you for like 3 more cases.
Yeah.
But you like just hang around for like just a couple more years. Um, and so he sends her to this like drainage situation. I wasn't exactly sure what these pipes were, but there was
It
like a
was,
pipe,
yeah, it was no, it was like a, yeah, I guess like a
like a
drainage.
culvert almost. It was like a,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and to check for the other body so she can start building her profile. And she, oh, and so she's talking through everything and she's like, we need to set her free. Like we need to take care of this. And we learned the victim was happily married and she was a teacher. However, the other victim was a widow and a mail carrier. So there's no, like no correlations there. So she's like, I don't really know how this goes together. Um, and so then Paul introduces her to the team. So we meet everyone, and I don't remember
Yeah.
any of the basketball. So we'll meet them again, I'm sure.
I
Um,
was so mad during this because she was like, I don't know that we have enough information from these
mhm.
two. A, before they even, like, they hadn't even researched these women yet. They literally were just like taking prints and taking crime scene photos. And she was supposed to already have a profile for the
Yeah,
murder. And I was like, do you understand how behavioralism works?
right. Yeah, because he's like tells her to basically give her spiel. And so she does try, and she's like, "There's no serial killer here. There's no correlation. Things are too controlled." And she's like, at this point, I can't make a determination. Like, I need more info, which is totally fair.
Totally fair. And
Um,
everything she said about like serial killers kill for passion. Like
right.
serial killers kill because they need something.
Hmm.
There was not, that wasn't evident in either of these like bodies. There's
Right.
nothing here that tells me it's a serial killer unless you can give me a hell of a lot more information.
Yep. And Paul just says it's a serial killer, and we're gonna go to a press conference. I was like, that is not how that works, but okay.
That's how you know he's worked too close to the fucking government and the White House for too long. Bitch, that is not
Hmm.
how we do things.
That is not how we roll here in the Hannibal universe.
Here in
Um,
here in the real universe.
I don't know. Sometimes that's how we work here in the real universe.
Yeah, when the AG is running the case,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm talking about the legitimate, like,
You mean
fucking,
like the us people of the world?
yeah, like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
legitimate police departments of the world, not the goddamn Washington, D.C. bullshit.
Right, right, right. The politics version. Um, and so we go to the press conference and Paul's given a little overview of everything. And she comes out and she says it's a serial killer. She follows her rules as a military person, basically. And so then I thought she went home. However, it was not her home because her friend gets home and knocks the door and
Well,
is like,
I
"Oh,
mean,
you've made your way in."
she doesn't live in D.C.
Yes, which makes sense. Which makes sense. But I just assumed because she was so like casually there. And her friend just comes in and she's like, I knew you'd find your way in. It's like, well, that's good. And so they start discussing um Ruth and Paul, and they're talking about her experience with this case. And her friend, it's her friend from when she was in like Quantico for training. So like they're both
Yeah.
FBI.
Yeah.
And so they're discussing the case, and it's all laid out. And they start talking about a profile and first principles. Um, and she says that it looks like he learned how to do this from a book, that it's not, training, or it's not that
Hmm.
he's been doing this for his whole life. It's like very
Like he read something and
textbook.
yeah, he read something and
Yeah,
then did it. Like it wasn't.
right. Because he's not compulsive. He has deliberation. And the wounds all are desperately random, she says, which I thought was a very interesting way to describe things.
Yeah.
Um, and so we go back to headquarters, and we see that some of the guys have put lotion in her drawer.
I'm so
Um,
mad about that.
and I was ready to come to the TV and punch them in the face.
Yup.
Like, what a mean thing to do. But then Escobar comes and he tells her, he's like, I'm so sorry these guys did that. Like, we're not all like that. And she's obviously not buying it. And he's like, no, we're a team. Like, we are part of the same team. Those guys are different people.
Yeah.
Um, and he starts telling her, he's like, I believe your profile. Like, it makes sense what you said.
Well,
Um,
and he also has military training. Like,
mhm,
so he understands violence in a different way than I think a lot of the
right.
other people probably do.
Yeah. And he thinks things through a little differently too. A little different mindset.
Yeah.
And so Clarice starts telling him, she's like, I really want to talk to the victim's husband. Um,
Well, oh, because he says that they interviewed the victim's husband and he
yeah,
didn't know anything. And she was like, men don't even know what they don't know about their wife,
right.
which
And he's
is,
like, that's why you need a behavioralist to like come in
mhm,
and pay attention to those things for you. And
right.
so that's what she's coming to do. And then he's like, you gotta trust someone or you die alone, because she's like not trying to trust him. And she's like, you're really bleak. And he says, I get it from my mom.
Love it.
And I was like, that's the best. That's my favorite. I like him
Yeah,
already.
me
He
too.
he's a real gem already. Um, so now we're driving, and they're talking about how like it's not, it was deliberate. He was covering like one heinous act with another. And so like something else is being hidden that we're not seeing. And she starts asking him about his life, and she's like, do you have sisters? And he's like, yeah, I grew up with a family of sisters. And she's like, you're real comfortable in the passenger seat.
That was so funny.
But I was like, oh, I love that. And then he's like, when does people start calling you Frankenstein? And she's like, Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein. She's like, Bride of Frankenstein, Igor, Rapunzel. They've called me a lot of different things. She's like, but I'm
Yeah.
out of the tower now. And I was like, oh, that sounds intense. Good for you. But
Yep.
also, you're not really, because you still are having nightmares every night. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's fine.
yeah, yeah,
Cool,
yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool, cool.
So we go to interview Mr. Bird, and this is the one whose wife was a teacher, obviously, because the other one was widowed.
Yeah.
Um, and Clarice starts helping him out with the baby, and like,
Because he seems like a very good, like he doesn't seem like a bad guy. Like there's no
yeah.
question of that he's involved or something. Like it's not like bad
No,
at
no,
all.
no.
He's just
Yeah,
very like he's very typically the husband whose wife did everything in the house and now he's like shit, I don't even know where the like flour is. Like I don't know how
right.
to do anything.
Yeah. And basically, and then he talks about how he doesn't know how to raise his son. And we learned that like not only is he dealing with the new baby, not only is he dealing with the loss of his wife, he's also has a kid who's autistic, and he doesn't know how to work with him because his wife was the one who always regulated and helped him with
And
his
yeah, and
behaviors.
he's like very like he's like not borderline nonverbal, like very
Right.
like not I don't like to say low functioning because
They
like
don't say high functioning, low functioning anymore, but
right because
yeah,
and yeah but it's like
it's different
it's
levels.
the
So like,
yeah it's
yeah,
someone who's on the part of the spectrum where they're not able to get through a day without the aid.
right. And so he's trying to figure out how to do all of these things now. Plus, I'm sure work and support them. Um, and so they they go through all of this, they don't really find out anything. And then they find out that the next kin to the other victim was their kid. And so they go to find the kid, and she's living in a homeless camp or a drug camp or both.
Yeah.
And she sees them and she just runs. And I was like, oh, yeah, that tracks. But they catch her, of course, and they're in this like abandoned warehouse looking thing now. Um, and they tell her that her mom died, and they're like, "We're not here to like bust you for anything. We just want to talk to you."
Yeah.
And we learned that she was watching that her name was Casey. She was watching Casey's son, even though she was clean, because she said she got clean when she was pregnant, and that her mom still took the baby when she had it.
But then
So
we
she's
also find out that the mom probably was correct to take the baby because the baby had significant special needs.
yes, and so it was for the best, and probably because of the drugs.
Probably,
Um,
yeah.
and so then we go back to the FBI, and Paul is going to see more of what's going on, and like go do some more research in crime scene and whatnot. And but he got a call from Clarice's therapist that she might flip out at any moment, and so he should not have her involved. Which would then make me flip out at that exact moment.
Yeah. Well,
But it did not
and no,
her.
it wasn't even just that he was going to go find more things. There's a new victim, and he won't let her
Yeah,
come with him.
right. He won't let her see the crime scene or anything. And yeah, I would have lost my mind at that moment. But that's okay. And then but I did say, honestly, though, this is better than Jack and Will, because if someone had called Jack and told him that, he'd been like, I think he's okay. And then Will may have not done well. And I mean, obviously, we
Yeah.
saw him spiral.
No,
So maybe she does need a break. I just
I
want the
mean,
therapist.
for sure. The problem is that Jack deliberately ignored the therapist's advice, didn't care about Will's mental well-being. The problem is this guy is a misogynistic fuckhead, and he
Right.
doesn't care because Clarice is a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And not part of his team either, even though she's supposed to be.
Yeah, but if you notice, there was no other women on that team or
There
in
are
the
not.
office at all.
Yup. So Paul's talking to Escobar now, and he tells him, I thought his name was Oliver at first. I don't even know where I
I
got
thought it
that.
was Escobar, like Pablo.
Yeah, no, it's with a V, Escobar.
Escobar.
Um,
Okay.
and
Which, to be fair, probably pronounced as a P or as a B if it's a V, and depending on what type of Spanish he is.
it could be somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably not a hard V sound.
Right, right. Um, and he tells him to keep an eye on Clarice and basically report that.
And we kind of find out that that probably him talking to her in the first place was probably prompted by that too.
Right, right. And so
And
we go to
I go at that moment I go, oh no, don't make me hate him. Don't make
I know, not the good guy.
not the good guy.
Um, so while Clarice is at her desk doing who knows what, because she's not allowed to do anything, she gets a call at work, and it's Catherine, and she immediately starts getting flashbacks again. And
Wow.
We learn Catherine has Precious, which is creepy. I love a dog. That would not be the one. I would have given that dog up to someone else.
Uh-huh.
And Catherine starts asking, she asks if it was real. She's like, I can ask other people and they can tell me, but they don't know. No one else like knows for sure.
That was probably the most unhinged conversation I've ever heard in my entire life. And if
so
anyone needs a
unhinged.
therapist, it is not Clarice.
Right. I mean, she does too, but a good therapist. And Catherine definitely needs one worse. And she starts saying, she's like, everyone keeps saying, I'm safe now because he's dead. But that's a lie. I'll never be safe, and you'll never be safe. And I'm like, you are unhinged.
Well, and
So
do you think that's good for Clarice's healing process?
I know, yeah.
And everybody's like, just talk to her. She needs you. What about me? I don't need her.
Right. And so Catherine starts asking her, she's like, can you sleep or do the moths wake you up? And we've already seen her waking up with the moth dreams and everything. And then she says, there's no one for you, just me. And I was like, I get the correlation to how you've become this way because of how your mom is, who hasn't gone through the trauma you've gone through. But maybe that whole family just needs to stay to themselves.
For sure.
So we go to this crime scene. Escobar calls to tell Clarice that the daughter of the new victim has a deformity. And so now we learn each of the victim's kids have had something wrong with them, whether it's, or not something wrong. We've been reframing how you say things.
I know. And
The company I work for actually put out a lot of good information on this and phraseology.
Yeah, no, and it is, but it's also, there is something, they have something later in the episode about the drug trial that she was on for her migraines, and it seems like whatever the drug was super unethical, and it caused the son to be born with autism. And listen, I know there's a whole big thing right now about ways to cause autism and whether it is a thing or not. And this is not that, but if you are a perfectly healthy person who then takes a drug that causes something to happen to your unborn child, that you can still love your child, you can still support them, you can still think there's nothing wrong with them in that sense, and still take retribution for the drug that caused something to happen to make them
that would not have happened otherwise. Yeah.
Correct.
I would like to say, for the record, the guy with the autism stuff and vaccines, he was disbarred years ago, and that all of that research was found to be discredited on repeat. So please do review your resources. There are plenty of things that may or may not happen. There are plenty of causes that we may or may not know about. But that study that everyone constantly cites, the guy from like the 80s, was just, I don't know, deboard. I don't know what you get when you're no longer licensed. Delicensed. I'm disbarred if I lose my license.
No, you still have to. I think it's still, you're barred from the medical association.
But he's barred from the medical association, and every research study that he put out was discredited as being paid off by someone who wanted that study done. So please stop citing that study. Please keep doing research. Please keep doing research for autism. Please stop citing that study.
Correct. And listen, the chemicals that we put in our body between vaccines and the food that we eat and the dyes that we use and we chemically altered our bodies to the point where that is why there is such a prevalence of neurodivergence in our world.
Sure. Yes.
Whether that is something that needs to be cured, quote unquote, or not is a whole other conversation.
Right. Yes, but these kids all have something that has caused them to be
an abnormality.
Thank you. That is the word I was looking for. They all have an abnormality due to these trials. That we'll learn later due to these trials. And so they go back to talk to Mr. Bird, and Esquivel and Clarice I literally just read the sentence before I wrote it. And then we learned that Angie was in the trial for the migraines. However, there's something he's hiding, and we learned that it's because he signed an informed consent and they settled. And so he's not allowed to talk about it now. I don't know why they didn't just say I've signed an NDA.
No, because it's not the same as an NDA. He doesn't.
The informed consent is not, but if they've settled.
Yes, but I don't think he knows what she's doing. He's saying that he said he signed an informed consent and they settled in court, so that should not have anything to do with anything. Like, he explained, he did this trial, something happened, it didn't go well, we signed an informed consent, and because we signed the informed consent, we settled in court, it's over.
Right.
However, Clarice is like, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
And that's I don't think he signed an NDA. I think he could talk about it. It's just that in his mind, it has nothing to do with anything.
Settled is outside of court. That means they've decided outside of court, which I'm going to say 99.9% of the times comes with an NDA, especially for medical trials and the like, because they don't want you talking about the issues that have gone forward. That is how that usually goes. If it's settled, it's not in court. You've just agreed upon something. And so typically, if you settle, you're settling because you're signing an NDA to receive whatever money they're giving you. That's just kind of like for something like this, not just like any settlement, but like a medical trial, a high profile celebrity, any of these things, you have to sign an NDA 99.9% of the times. Which is why I don't understand why they weren't just like, I've signed an NDA, I can't talk about anything. I don't know why we've been like, we signed informed consent and then we settled. It's like, that feels like a convoluted way of you could have just written it.
Okay.
That's all. Not to say that they aren't the same thing. I'm just saying it could have been written differently.
Right. I think they aren't the same thing.
No, they're not, but they in effect are probably the same.
Mm.
because he probably has all of the same things have probably occurred.
Well, I think because I
Um,
think the informed consent was prior to the trial.
right, right. But I just think that was unnecessary.
Mm.
That's what I'm saying. I think they could
Okay.
have just said,
I
sign an
didn't,
NDA, it's over,
as
and instead
someone
of
who doesn't know that about that NDA situation,
Mhm.
I didn't take it that he couldn't talk about it. I took it that
Mhm.
there was nothing to talk about in his mind. Like,
Oh, no, most of the times you settle, it's because and you're not allowed to talk
okay,
about a settlement.
because
Yeah.
based on how little he knows about things anyway, what I took it from in his mind, it's over and it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with anything. And so there's nothing to talk about. He knows where the
Yeah.
study came from. He knows what happened. He knows they got the money. Bing, bang, boom, done. And that's why she's hiding the fact that she's still going after them. And I thought
Yeah.
it had less to do with disclosure and more to do with relevance.
Yeah. It's probably disclosure, but also like even cases that don't have necessarily like sensitive matter will still usually use an NDA because if you've settled, you don't want someone to know what you've settled that case for as an attorney if you're going to try and litigate a very similar case to someone else because that'll set a precedent
No,
for what you can
that
gain on
makes
another
sense.
case,
Just
which
as
is
a
why settlements usually are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just, in terms of character and what he was saying,
Hmm.
I didn't take it as him believing he couldn't tell the FBI. I took it
Yeah.
as him believing there was no reason to tell the FBI, which is
Yeah.
why I didn't care one way or the other that he didn't say the NDA. Because
Mhm.
in my mind, character motivation, that wasn't what his problem was.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think even if you sign an
That's
NDA, if
fair.
the FBI it tells you you have to tell them, I think you can.
No, you can't.
No, really.
Mm-mm. You can't unless there, I'm sure there are like
There's,
unless,
yeah, I
but
was like, I'm
like,
sure there's some way for the FBI to get warrants for that.
yeah, they can subpoena you and if it's like approved by a judge and stuff like that, but it's not like if they just ask you, you can't tell them. You have to have it approved through a court system
I
that you're able to
also
break the
I
NDA,
also feel
basically.
like the FBI can retroactively subpoena something that they took from you that they weren't
They
supposed
can't.
to.
It's for the poisonous tree. That's a whole criminal law defense. That is a and that one is followed very closely.
I was gonna say,
Um,
is it though?
there are extenuating there's like nine exceptions, and so some of them are like extenuating circumstances, and like sometimes like if it's something they would have found out either way, that can still be like let in even if they got it before they were given,
Right.
whatever. So there are like some circumstances that are allowed, but it's not just like on a whim. Like they have to still go through a
No,
court system to
I
get
just feel like the
approved.
FBI can just make things up as they go along.
They could probably get away with it, but they
Yeah,
do have to still go through the system and pretend like they've done it correctly.
technically.
So, because it won't be entered otherwise. Um, yeah. So now that you've learned a ton about criminal law and NDAs, I hope you loved your lesson. Da, 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 da. So, so she's like, if you can't tell me, does she have paperwork? Can I just search your house? And so he's like, yeah, you can search the house. And she's like, okay. So since he can't tell me anything, where is she going to put something that either maybe he doesn't even know is there
Mhm.
or that she's hiding from other people that people aren't going to just look at? So of
Well,
course
and
she goes,
no, and it's specifically from him because she says if this is a traditional woman who runs the house, who takes care of it,
mhm,
who, and he is so separated from the kids, what would be the one place that he would not look in?
right.
A
And so of
tampon
course it's
box.
the box of tampons. And so she finds all the paperwork there. And there's contact information for journalists and like stuff like that. And so then they're talking to David, and it turns out he also knows about this journalist and he's
Because
met
probably
her.
he's talked to her
Mhm.
himself or in whatever amount that he can
Right.
communicate with her.
Yeah. And so this is when we learned that the victims not only had kids that had abnormalities, were part of trials, they were all whistleblowers. They were all the ones talking to the journals and trying to get this information out there.
Yeah.
And Esquivel says this is worse than just one crazy guy. He's like, we don't have a serial killer, but we do have something worse.
Yeah.
Which is true because you can't take down pharmaceutical companies. They'll get you.
Oh,
Um,
Luigi.
they're worse. They're worse than the mob. Um, so they go. I said they go to a new place because I wasn't sure where they were at this moment. They go to the journalist's house, and
Yeah.
Escobar sees that there's a Jeep with no plates and immediately gets suspicious. And we learn that he used to be a sniper, and so he is used to like paying closer attention to like entry and exit points and like
And he's
what's a
a,
little bit different and
and
off.
studying what a counter sniper, like if this is
Right,
where he would go, where's the other guy gonna be?
right. And so he recognizes that there's special forces technique that's been used because the cigarette is like the way that they've like rolled
Yeah.
down the butt to where you can't get anything off of it.
Yeah.
Um, and they realize that moment that he's in the house. So they like press there and they start looking, and he finds a woman who's dying but not dead. And it appears that she's slit her wrist, but we know that there's a guy in here.
Yeah.
And so then he starts attacking Escobar. And Clarice comes around and she shoots at him and starts having all these flashbacks from Buffalo Bill. And this is where we start talking to him, and he, staged this apparent suicide. And she's trying to figure out why, and he's like, "There's something way more going on here than you ever gonna know." Like,
Yeah.
and we flash out, and so we learn the journalist is safe. She's getting put in the ambulance, although I'm skeptical about how long. But she's at least gonna make it to the ambulance and probably the hospital. And then the killer starts asking. We learn he started asking for a deal. And he's like, I'll turn, but you gotta cut me. You gotta, I mean, witness protection, all this stuff. Like,
Yeah. Well, I
because
mean,
if
if you're
you,
a hitman for hire from a pharmaceutical company, I wouldn't want to just walk away and take.
right. And I also wouldn't want to be put in jail because if all these people are coming in jail, I'm gonna be dead tomorrow. Um, so Paul arrives and she tells him all of this, and she's like, this killer was a professional, like he did all of this stuff. And he's like, no, it was a serial killer. And she's like, that is 100% not what happened here. Like, look,
No.
we have proof that that is not what happened here.
Nope.
And the then we're gonna have another press conference. Obviously, our friend Paul loves press conferences.
Yep.
And she goes to talk, and she goes on this like anti-book ban agenda, which I think is lovely, but it is very in your face that they are trying to be like, don't ban books. Um,
I
she's
mean,
comparing.
yes and no. I really didn't take it that way.
You did. I did, but I think it's because I knew it came out in 21, and I knew that's when they started revving up the like book ban stuff again. And so it
Yeah.
just kind of felt it. I mean, I 100% agree with her sentiment. It's not that I
Yeah.
don't.
No, I mean, I really didn't take it that way. I understand why they chose book banning of all of the
Mhm.
things that could have
Sure.
been what her past was and connecting it to pop culture, sure. But I really didn't take it. I really did take it as because we last week when we watched the movie, I said the thing that I did not like about the movie was Clarice because I didn't get her character. I didn't feel like they developed enough. And in this speech, what they're basically doing is this is Clarice getting to explain who she is and why she's doing what she's doing, why she
Yeah.
wants to work in the FBI, why she cares about standing up for these women
Yeah.
in particular. And like when she does the whole book ban speech and then she ends it and she says all the victims' names and they ask what the killer's name is and she refuses to say it. A, I know it's part of the whole deal situation, but B, she says those are the names that are important. That was very much a like, this is me explaining who Clarice is
Yeah.
and why this story is going to be important. And so, even
Right.
though, sure, maybe it was a little on the nose, I really didn't take it that way.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. Um, I don't know that I don't know that I believe her character enough yet is the problem. I don't know if it's her as like an actor or if it's that I just am not connected enough yet. Um,
See, because I
but
felt the opposite. I felt way better about her character after this than I did after the movie.
I mean, I do after this also, but I felt very far away from the character in the movie. So this is better than that, but I'm still not quite there yet.
Yeah, okay, that's
But
fair.
yeah, so she's giving the speech, she's following the rules, she says they got the guy. She's like saying he's a serial killer, whatever, but then she says they caught the guy, we've put him away, everything's fine. And then she says, but it wasn't a serial killer. They were trying to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Da da da. And that's the end of the episode. So
Uh,
What do you
I
think?
I really liked it. I actually like, and Dan really liked it too, and he's really critical. Um, but yeah, no, I really liked it. I don't understand why it was only rated a 7. I mean, I understand that sure. Was it Hannibal? No. Is it going to get nines
No,
every episode?
no.
No. But I really did not find it as mediocre, I think, as most viewers did.
Yeah. I think I probably would have rated it like a 7.5. But I think I don't know if I'm skewed from coming off of Hannibal. And I know it's rated low because a lot of people are comparing it directly to a Hannibal. And it's like, you
Which
can't do
you
that.
can't do
This is not
that.
the same thing. This is a whole different story. This is a Clarice story. Even if it's a continuous, it doesn't matter.
And also,
Um,
like, Hannibal's not in this. Like, this isn't a story about Hannibal.
right, right,
It's
because they don't have
about
the rights to use the name Hannibal. So they can't be about Hannibal.
right,
Um,
but even that, I think I
yeah,
like that the story's not about Hannibal. Like I understand that
I
it's
do
part of the
too.
Hannibal universe. I get it. I understand that Hannibal was a part of her life, but like I appreciate that it's like let's not continue to put him on a pedestal.
Yeah. I think so. My favorite thing about this episode so far, I really like the story. I really like the setup. I think we're gonna do I
Hmm.
think we have so much potential for where it's gonna go.
Yeah,
And I'm very excited about that. The
yeah.
things I feel like it's lacking is I don't love the flashback scenes, the way that they are set up. I don't like the way that they're like the visuals on it. Um,
So I have mixed feelings on that because
okay.
on the one hand, I agree. I didn't really like them. I thought there was a really hard time with delineation between flashback and real life. It was very kind of jump cut, and I didn't
Yeah.
love that.
Mhm.
But to the positive, I will say the actual visuals and what they showed, they did a very good job of color matching and feel matching to the movie. Like I
Yeah.
thought like the well looked amazing, the scenes of Buffalo Bill, the
Oh, for
color
sure.
choices of the color choices of the palettes of the sewing and the mannequins and the moths, like I thought that was really, really well done because they were like, no, this is the story we're telling. This is
Yeah,
the like world that we're in. Obviously, it's not the same actors because it's fucking 20 years
sure.
later.
Right.
But I really, really liked
But they did a good job of
they
picking
did a
out
really
similar character actors, like to look
yeah,
very similar.
agreed. And so I didn't like the cinematography. No, I didn't like the editing of
Yeah.
the flashbacks. But the cinematography choices, the coloring, and the texture of the visuals, I appreciated that.
So I liked how well they did that, but I did have mixed feelings because while I liked that aspect of it that you're discussing, this is supposed to only be a year difference, but it still feels like it's actually coming out in 1992 in the flashbacks because it's so similar to the original. But then when you jump back, you don't feel like you're in 93. You feel like you're in 2020. And so it
I
has at least that's how I felt watching the
I
back and forth. I
would
was like, these are a year apart.
I would think it's somewhere in between a little bit. I think that they
Okay.
did try to age it back. I
Mhm.
don't feel like it was 4 years ago. It does not feel like a 2020s show, but it does also feel like I'm watching season one of Criminal Minds in 2004.
Right, right, right,
Like,
right.
so I think that they made an attempt to de-age it, but it's just very difficult to,
Yeah.
in quality filming, make something look like you can make something look like it's the 70s because color palette is a big difference. But I think for as much as fashion has changed and technology has changed, I think the difference between 1990 and 2025 is very different than the difference between 1965 and 1990.
Yes, yes, a
Like,
100%. Oh, for sure, yeah.
so I think that that is a much harder to accomplish.
Mhm.
And so I'm less upset that they didn't do it well.
Yeah. No, and that's fair. And I think one of the other things that just that I don't like I said, I don't feel like I connect to Clarice yet.
Okay.
I do think I could get there because I think she's trying to be a little hokey in her maintaining the accent, which makes sense for character,
It's
but is just
I
not great.
also felt like it was real fucking hokey when Jodie Foster did it, but
Well, it did, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't like it for either of them. I didn't like the way either of them did their
yeah, but
voices.
like I think
Um,
it's a lot easier when you're the first person doing the character than it
yeah,
is to like make a better choice than it is when you're picking up a character that everybody knows and you're supposed to live within a certain
I
universe
know.
and you only have so many options on how to do that.
I'm really interested. So Julianne Moore plays Clarice in Hannibal. Um,
Mm,
and so I'm
okay.
really interested to see how she does it because I think I'm gonna like her best. And voice wise, I don't know character wise, but like the way she
Right.
portrays that way. And the other thing that I didn't love as much, and this is a comment on post 2018 cinema, like TV, not this show in particular,
Okay.
but there's just something about like you don't get the TV magic and movie magic that you got from older like TV and films and the new stuff. Everything is using the same type of visuals, the same type of lighting, the same type of like even different shows. It's like there's always something that's just a little artificial about it when you watch it now, I feel like. And like
Okay.
there's some shows that are like, I mean, there's tons of shows. I love current TV too, but there's just
Yeah.
something you miss of that. And I think that that's something that I missed coming from watching Silence of the Lambs, where you get some of that like realistic feel and you get some more of that like cinema magic
Yeah,
and
I mean, you have your shows that try to be super avant-garde, like
mhm,
Hannibal, but then you
right.
also have any show in the last 10 years that is a realistic show, has this like
Hmm.
kind of copycat grittiness to it.
Yes. Hmm. And it's
And
like FBI. It's like all of those shows just like that.
yeah,
And
because I mean, because that's all that's on
yeah,
TV is fake true crime. Like,
right. And so it feels like just another one of those shows at this point. You know, it has that kind of element for me, even though I think the storyline's gonna be great. And I love the way that they're like
which I think
reinventing
is fair. That's
Clarice.
also my favorite genre of
Yeah.
TV, which might be why that didn't bother me as much
Yeah.
as it bothered you.
Well, it's mine too, but I think it's that like, I don't know. It's just an issue I have with modern TV, I guess, in general. And
Which,
we haven't gotten this modern yet with our like I mean, we've been
yeah.
2015. It's not like we've been
No,
that far
but this
back.
is definitely this is
But like,
the newest show we've watched.
yeah. And so it's one of the first times we're really seeing that. It's a difference of seeing like I grew up watching CSI, which didn't feel have that like 2020s feeling of true crime TV
Yeah.
fiction to it. That it did the same thing but felt better, I guess. I don't know. So
Well,
I had that.
it felt better because at the time that was not the same thing that's been on TV for 20 years.
Right, right. And so like
Like if
that's
you watch
also
CSI for the first time right now, it wouldn't feel better.
no, but I've been rewatching CSI recently and I
No,
still
no, no,
love
but
it. So like
you still have that connection to it. Like
right.
I will never think NCIS has any flaws
Hmm.
because like that is the show. Like NCIS is the show that I watched. Early
Right.
Criminal Minds, sure. Does it look probably exactly the same as this? Like down to the FBI jacket and the way she walked into the
Right.
water? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I give them more credit because I watched them when I was younger? Yes. It's not even
And that's
about,
what I'm saying. It's like it's not a fault with this show in particular. It's just
yeah,
one of the things that made me connect less than I normally would to one of these shows, which is why I
right.
think I would give it a 7.5. I think a lot of people give it lower because they did compare it too much to Hannibal.
I would probably,
But
because that doesn't quite bother me as much, I would probably give it somewhere closer to an eight.
yeah,
Just
which
because
is fair.
I mean, I wouldn't give it too much higher than an eight because it's still a pilot.
Right.
And there's still a lot of work to be done, but
Hmm.
I don't compare it to Hannibal and
Hmm.
I don't compare it to every other FBI show. So like it makes it a little bit
Yeah.
less like it didn't check off a box for me.
Right. Which is totally fair. I'm kind of surprised that I feel that way because I'm like I don't compare it to Hannibal in that same sense, but it's this like new cinematography thing because I'm really good at separating myself from like this is the same universe but is not the same.
Yeah.
Like that is I feel like my entire life what I've said to people like every week. So but I'm feeling good about it. I really like the plot of it. And I really like
Yeah.
the way that they're developing the story.
Yeah.
And I really like Esquivel. Um, I do have one goof though. They he defined what a serial killer was, and he defined it incorrectly.
Correct.
Um,
I knew that.
yeah, I was gonna read the I know what it is, but I was gonna read the actual definition.
Yeah.
A serial killer is defined as an individual who murders two or more people over a significant period of time in separate events. These
Correct.
killings are typically motivated by psychological factors, often with a deliberate planning and cool off period between incidents.
Yeah. So the cool off period is very important.
That is the important part. Yeah.
The cool off period. Well, and the separate events. Because here's the thing,
Yes.
you could kill three people at once in a family because you walked into a house and murdered everyone. You're not a serial
Right.
killer. If 2 weeks later you kill another three people when you walk into a different house, then it changes. But what makes it different from
A
a
spree
spree
killer.
killer and a serial killer is those 2 weeks and the two different
Mhm.
houses. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah.
So that is my one goof is that he did define that
Literally
completely
as he said
incorrect.
that, I go, that's not correct. But
I know.
that's
I was like,
fine.
that's not right. I was like, I can't remember if it is two. I was like, I do feel like two is,
I
but I
didn't
can't
remember if it was
remember.
2 or 3 because
Yeah,
there's I think that it used to be 3 and then
I
they
think so
changed it
too.
to 2 because they're trying to catch them before they get to the
Hmm.
third one, which is great.
Sure.
But it is still that cool down period, the
Yeah,
escalation and the yeah.
and the psychological
Yeah.
element is super important. And this is
Yeah.
obviously very um planned and calculated. It's not like a
Yeah.
psychological thing. It's like a hired hitman.
Which, to be
Um,
fair, you can be as have a psychological killing that is very planned and careful. Because, think about fucking what's his name?
well, yeah, but I'm saying like
Like,
it's not a psych element. It's like the just plain, careful, captivating,
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
without the
yeah. No,
emotion
obviously this one
or
is
lack
not, but
thereof.
this one
Right.
is not. But you could have like the guy who,
From Alaska, who had the kill kits everywhere.
yeah, or the doctor who they think is behind the Black Dahlia, who very carefully
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, they asked me if I knew what a dahlia looked like at Easter yesterday, and I said yes, and that was it. And they were like, "Yeah, they're usually like pink or white." I was like, "Or black." I was like, but I didn't. It's like I'm not here to ruin Easter.
Yeah.
Um, but yes. Do you have any other thoughts about the pilot?
Excited to see where it
Um,
goes.
I feel like this is the most we've dug deep into a
I
episode in a
know.
long time.
I know. Well, because
Um,
it's always when you're starting a new show,
I
there's so much
know
more to say.
there is. Well, on that note, who do you want to punch in the face?
Fucking, what's his name? Paul? Is Paul
I
his
know,
name?
yeah, it's Paul. It's Paul.
Okay.
That's his name.
Yeah.
Well, because you punched him, I'd like to punch the AG because she's got to cut some
Oh, she was
slack.
my
Like
number two. She was my
that was a
number two.
lot
Don't
going
you
on.
worry. Her daughter
Yeah.
was number 3. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
and to be fair,
Um,
her daughter has trauma, but also,
right.
girl,
Yeah, but still, yeah. So who's your MVP?
basketball.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. The right choice.
Yeah.
I mean, because you chose him, I think I'm gonna choose the friend that she's staying with in
Mm.
DC. Um,
Okay, my favorite moment of the entire episode was when she was like, "Give me their names so I can put them in my book," and then she
I
posted
know, I
the
was
book
like,
and it just said
yes.
"People I'm sending to hell," and I was like,
I was like, I love you. You're my favorite.
"Yeah,
Yeah, so adored her, absolutely loved that. So I think she's my MVP just because like Clarice is still building. She didn't like
yeah." I
do, I
mean,
mean, her big
she was
speech at
great.
the end was great,
She was,
but
and
like,
she solved the mystery, and it was great, and
sure,
but that's kind of her job.
right, right, right. She doesn't have a book to send people to hell, so
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, so that is our first episode, and I'm pleased to say that we are sounding much more positive than I anticipated based on other reviews we've seen and whatnot.
yep,
So we'll see if that can. I am happy I bought the DVD. I'm no longer regretting that.
nice.
Um, so if you want to keep going with us, we'll be seeing episode 2 next week, and we'll keep going. You can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CE Cloud 13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we'll see you on Sunday for part 1 of Stargate SG-1.
Bye.
Yay!